Chronographs seem fairly simple, right? Press a button and it starts the stopwatch. Press it again, it stops. Press another button, it resets. Repeat. Sounds simple enough. Well, for most it is. But for some, the intricacies of the chronograph, its specific function, and the structure of the mechanism is very important. And chances are, if you're watching this video, then you are probably one of these people. Or you're trying to become more knowledgeable on the chronograph so you can be more discerning in future. Well, either or, you're in the right place, as today we'll be going over almost all the different chronograph types you could possibly find out there in the wild. We'll begin with what is on the dial. Several different variations of chronograph scales are regularly seen on the dials of luxury chronographs. I will explain them in order of popularity. Tachymeters. The most common chronograph scale is a tachymeter. Tachymeters are used to measure speed. The chronograph is begun while travelling at speed, then stopped when a marker is reached, most commonly 1 mile or 1 kilometer. The number pointed to by the chronograph seconds hand once the specific distance is passed is the average speed that was travelled over that distance, seen here on this Ulysses Nardin Maxi Marine chronograph. Telemeters. Less common are telemeters. Telemeters are used to measure a distance from an event. The chronograph is started when an event is seen, such as lightning or a cannon firing, and stopped when the event is heard. The number pointed to by the chronograph seconds hand is the distance from the event, worked out by using the difference in the speed of sound compared to the speed of light. Used here on this Oris Big Crown Pro Pilot chronograph 44mm. Pulsometers. Least common is pulsometers. Watches that feature a pulsometer are often known as doctor's watches, as their purpose is to measure heart rates. Either graduated for 15 or 30 pulsations, which is usually marked on the dial in French. The wearer begins the chronograph, counts 30 or 15 beats of the patient's pulse, and on the final beat of the 30 or 15, they stop the chronograph, and the number pointed to by the chronograph seconds hand is the patient's heart rate. Used on this Blancpain Villeret flyback chronograph pulsometer 43.6mm. Some other aspects of the chronograph are more related to the movement, but also have a direct effect on the dial as well, such as the layout of the chronograph subdials and the graduation of the minute and hour totalizers. For example, modern chronographs tend to have 3 subdials: a running sub-second hand for normal timekeeping, a chronograph minutes totalizer, and a chronograph hours totalizer, often referred to as a tri-compact chronograph due to the 3 subdials. However, some chronographs, aiming for a more vintage styling, opt for a less crowded layout, featuring only a sub-seconds hand and a minutes totalizer, also known as a bicompact chronograph. Longines produce both variants of chronograph in many different styles, but shown below is the twin register master automatic chronograph 40mm and the triple register master automatic chronograph 42mm. Similarly, the graduation of the minutes totalizer can often vary from only 30 minutes to 45 or up to 60 minutes. 60 and 30 can be seen on the Longines chronographs we just showed, with a twin register chronograph on the left with a 60 minutes totalizer and the triple register chronograph on the right having a 30 minutes totalizer. It is likewise with the hours, and they too can vary if it has one at all. Hour totalizers are most commonly seen with a 12-hour totalizer, as is seen above, but this can vary. The most unusual layout differences come when using a movement that can time into fractions of a second. Movements that can do this often have their own unique layouts, so we can't generalize these. Now onto the variants that come about directly due to the movement. Some varying types of chronograph you will have already heard of, such as the standard chronograph, displaying the time and start, stop, reset chronograph functions. Another well-known form of chronograph is a flyback chronograph. A flyback chronograph does not need to be stopped, reset, and started again. Instead, it can be restarted and begun instantly with one press of the reset button, saving crucial fractions of a second in some circumstances. A lesser-known form of chronograph is a split-second chronograph, also known as a rattrapante chronograph. A split-second chronograph has 2 seconds hands, one directly beneath the other, that can be operated independently to time 2 separate events simultaneously. Split-second chronograph types are the hardest to manufacture, as the precision required is far more than a standard chronograph. As a result, they are very uncommon and very expensive. A great example of a rattrapante chronograph is the Jacques Droz Astrale Rattrapante 45mm, with a split second hand and main second hand clearly visible. The differences from here on in get very technical. One of the main arguments surrounding the chronograph is those that prefer a cam-actuated chronograph or a column wheel actuated chronograph. Before we get into that though, we need to talk about clutches. A clutch in a watch operates much like a clutch in a car, delivering and removing power from the movement to the chronograph mechanism by pressing and retracting chronograph wheels to the gear train of the watch. There are 2 types of clutch in a chronograph watch: a vertical clutch and a horizontal clutch, or lateral clutch. A horizontal clutch is much more common, but can lead to the second hand jerking off of 0 instead of a smooth start due to the way the chronograph gears mesh with the gear train. The video shown currently of the Hublot King Power Unico chronograph 48mm shows the operating of a column wheel chronograph with a horizontal clutch. Nearing the end of the video, due to the chronograph mechanism being on the dial side, we can see the activation and jump of the seconds hand when activated. Similarly, if you look closely, you can see the clutch engaging and disengaging as the chronograph is started and paused. Again, nearing the right of the picture, you can see the column wheel turning as the chronograph is activated and paused. Contrastingly, a vertical clutch presses the gear operating the chronograph vertically onto the driving gear from the gear train, meaning the second hand smoothly moves off the 60 marker due to the fact that teeth aren't involved, as the 2 gears are pressed together like a normal clutch. Similarly, as gearing teeth are not involved, a vertical clutch chronograph can be run for longer periods than a horizontal clutch without causing additional wear to the movement. However, many prefer horizontal clutches as they like to see the gears moving into place as the chronograph is activated. This cannot be seen as much with the vertical clutch, as the clutch is most commonly buried deep within the movement. The operating of a vertical clutch can only be seen on a handful of movements, and even when it can, what can be seen is minimal, as the clutch action is vertical, so all that can really be seen is the separator arms releasing the clutch. Shown currently is the vertical clutch used in the current Rolex Daytona models. Now, knowing that, let's move into the different types of chronograph. A cam-actuated chronograph is much less expensive to manufacture and less tricky to service and repair due to the flat, straight build of the chronograph parts. Similarly, they are a lot tougher and were selected by NASA over a column wheel operated movements as a result. However, there are downsides. Cam-actuated movements take more force to activate the chronograph and are generally seen as less prestigious. Similarly, it is almost unheard of for a cam-actuated chronograph to have a vertical clutch, meaning the second hand will almost always jerk off the 0 marker due to the imperfect meshing of the gears on the horizontal clutch. Shown currently is the cam-actuated mechanism of the most common cam movement, the ETA 7750. However, a column wheel operated chronograph is operated by a wheel with upright teeth and levers that sit between the thin columns that rotate the column wheel in increments when it is activated, leading to a more gentle activation. And, when coupled with a vertical clutch, gives a smooth sweep from the moment of activation. However, due to the complexity of manufacturing column wheels, they garner a more significant price than cam-actuated chronographs, and are slightly less common as a result. Column wheel chronographs are frequently seen with both vertical and horizontal clutches, so it is up to personal choice which clutch you have on your column wheel chronograph. The video being shown currently shows the actuation of the column wheel actuated horizontal clutch Zenith Grande Class El Primero. The type of chronograph you buy will depend on many things, the most important being function, style, and of course, budget. If you're looking for a high-end, sleek dress chronograph, then you'd probably be looking for a column wheel actuated chronograph with a vertical clutch, for its history, elegance, and slimmer build. If you're looking for a sports watch with a greater presence on the wrist and increased reliability under strenuous conditions, then you'd probably be looking for a cam-actuated chronograph with a horizontal clutch. And all different variations between for individuals with different requirements. Whatever chronograph you are after and whatever budget you have will have your perfect watch, likely significantly below retail, at thewatchsource.co.uk. If you enjoyed this article, be sure to check out the countless other horological reviews, articles and tips on the Watch Source blog. Be the first to be notified of our new blog releases by following our Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, linked below. And keep up to date with our YouTube video versions by subscribing and turning on the bell to receive notifications of our frequent updates. As always, visit thewatchsource.co.uk and thewatchsource.co.uk/pre-owned to view our extensive selection of luxury timepieces at unrivaled prices with up to 22% off luxury watches, specializing in over 40 opulent brands, both brand new and pre-owned, and with over 60 years of combined experience in the luxury watch industry, we can more than fulfill all your horological needs.